With this Song Sung Blue guitar lesson, we'll show you how to play the complete song for either a one or two person performance, with guitar tabs, chord diagrams, and an accompanying karaoke practice video. We'll cover it all with the step-by-step approach. To start the song, you have a couple of options. Number one, if you're doing a basic strum-along or sing-along arrangement, you'll go right into the strumming section, and that would be the first chorus. But if you want to copy the original recording a little more closely, there's a keyboard intro on the original recording, and what we're going to do with this lesson is show you how to sort of copy or emulate that keyboard intro with a fingerstyle approach on guitar. It's a little bit tricky, the fingerstyle approach, so again, for a basic strum-along arrangement, go ahead, skip ahead to the chorus section. If you're curious on that intro, we'll get started on that right now, starting with a C chord. And with that, we do a pinch on the 1 and 5 strings together. Then we go down to the 2nd and 3rd strings after that. So you got the pinch, and then 2nd and 3rd strings. Then you extend the C chord by placing the pinky finger down on the 1 string, 1st string, 3rd fret. I'll do that one more time. And then we lift the pinky finger, and there's a back and forth between the 1 and 2 strings. And that would be the C section of the intro. There's only 4 chords in the intro, so that's section 1. Let's put it together. 1, 2, ready, go. And we'll do that one more time. 1, 2, ready, go. Then we go, this is an unusual chord shape. I would just refer to it as a B flat chord. That'll save a lot of syllables this lesson. If you want to get technical, this is a B flat 6 with a suspended 2nd and a flatted 5th. You can give it a bunch of different names, but I base it off the B flat bass note, and I'll just call it B flat just to make things easier in this lesson. The 1 and 2 fingers are down the 1st fret, bass note 5th string, 2nd string 1st fret. And then we're going to start this chord with a pinch as well, the 1 and 5 strings together, and going down to the 2nd, 3rd strings after that. So it's the same, starts off the same fingerstyle pattern. And then we're going to place the 3rd finger down on the 1st string, 1st fret. And then we have a 3-note riff that follows that. We lift off that top string so it's open, then we extend the pinky finger down to the 2nd string, 3rd fret, and lift off to the 1st fret on the 2nd string. So that's the 3-note riff, and if we back it up to the beginning of that section, and we'll do that one more time. Halfway through it, let's put it together from the beginning, connecting the C with the B flat sections. 1, 2, ready, go. Then we go to an A minor 7th chord, and this section, same fingerstyle pattern as the first section. So it'll sound like this. That one more time. Then we go to a G6 chord. It's pretty much a G chord without fretting the top string. And on this part, so very similar to the fingerstyle patterns from the previous sections, a little variation. That's the 4-chord progression. So let's put that together from the beginning. Slow walk through. 1, 2, ready, go. then the progression repeats. And the trick to a good transition is you keep that first finger down, because we're going to the C chord to repeat everything. So you just shift the two fingers over to C, repeat everything. There's going to be a variation at the end, but this is the second time around. Then the variation on the G, at least what I like to do. Again, this isn't exactly like the keyboard part. You can do your own variations if you want. But what I like to do, I place that first finger down, brush the top strings. That's an implied G7th. That's a good lead into when we start strumming into the next section. So what we'll do in the next clip is we'll do a review of the complete intro with the slow walkthrough approach. The chorus section is a 4-chord sequence, so we'll start by running through the changes. First chord is an open C, followed by an open G, an open G7, and then back to C, completes that 4-chord sequence. Now, I have seen some videos of Neil Diamond performing this live, and I see him fretting a C/G instead of a regular open C. Both are fine. I happen to prefer a regular C for an unaccompanied performance. C/G gives you a little bit more of a country sort of sound with that G bass note, but both work fine. Whatever you're more comfortable with, I would go with. And then another suggestion is that G chord. You may have noticed I use the 2, 3, and 4 fingers to fret G instead of the 1, 2, and 3 fingers. Both are fine, but if you want to keep your fretting hand steady in position, running through those changes again, you got C. If you use the 2, 3, and 4 fingers for G, then all you got to do is just drop down that first finger to go to G7 and then back to C. And your fretting hand stays a little bit more steady and in position with those chord voicings. The strum pattern is pretty straightforward. You're basically going to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up for each measure. Some might prefer to count instead of using down and up strums. And same thing, but with the count, it would sound or go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you stick with that, you'll be fine. In fact, once you get more comfortable with singing and strumming the chords, you're going to start throwing in your own variations that helps you keep time. And what I mean by variations is you may accent, I would suggest to focus more on the middle strings, but you may occasionally brush the top strings. You may put a certain accent on a certain count, the 1, 2, or 3, or 4 count. But as long as you kind of keep it with that 4 count, you should be okay. And let's do an example right now where we'll run through the first chorus, and you'll see how I do my variations, but you'll still hear that 4 count going throughout. 1, 2, ready, go. I mentioned focus more on the middle strings. It will sound a little bit better. If you brush the top string once in a while, that's fine. And in fact, for the G to the G7 transition, the only note that differentiates between the two chords is that top string. So some might prefer to sound that to emphasize the chord change, or you don't have to really acknowledge that note at all and just focus on the middle strings. Again, it's one of those things you just got to try out on your own. And in fact, you can do that with the next clip. The next clip, we'll do a review of the first chorus, and we'll also have the lyrics on the screen. So you can not only work on the changes and the variations, but you can also focus on syncing or timing the lyrics with the chord changes as well. For verse 1, we're going to introduce a new chord sequence, and it'll start with a C7th chord. For C7th, you focus just on the middle 4 strings. The thumb will be kind of curved around to mute the bottom string. The top string, you really don't want to sound, but if you accidentally sound it, that E note, that's fine, but for C7, aim for those middle 4 strings. Then we go to an F/C, what I often refer to as a middle F chord, and because you're only playing the middle 4 strings on this one. Now your first finger is going to be partially barred on the top 2 strings, so for this chord, F/C, focus on the middle 4, but if you happen to include that top string, that's fine, but you gotta have that note fretted. That first finger flatten across the top 2 strings if you're going to do that. Now, this may be a tricky transition for a lot of people. The C7th and the F/C, one pointer on that, between the 2 chords, the 1 and 3 fingers don't move. So a good way to warm up is to do a 1-strum kind of approach back and forth until you can do it fairly easily. And then the 3rd chord will be G, and then we'll go to C. Pretty much the verse section throughout all the verses in the song, pretty much it's going to be a 4-chord progression except for the first verse, which is what we're on now. The first verse is extended a little bit. After the C, we go 1 measure of D minor, an open D minor, and then an open G7. The other chords are going to be 2 measures each. So what we'll do is, let's warm up. We'll do a slow walkthrough to get acclimated to the chord changes. And it's showing up on the screen there. Remember, 2 times each for the first 4 chords and only 1 time for the D minor and the G7 chords. So here we go from the top. 1, 2, ready, go. On the original recording, you're going to hear additional guitar parts played over the main strum pattern, and they're going to gradually build as the song progresses. On verse 1, it's just one thing, and that is a strummed C7th chord. And that will be strummed the same time that sustained strum is played over the main strum pattern. So what we'll do with the next clip is we'll review verse 1. Main thing is to start to focus on syncing the lyrics with the chord changes, but also you can hear how that second guitar sounds over the backing rhythm as well. For the second chorus, you'll play the same chord progression as the first chorus. The only difference will be the lyrics. So what you can do with the next clip is focus on syncing or timing the lyrics to the second chorus along with the chords. Verse 2 is shortened up compared to verse 1, but it starts the same with the C7 for 2 measures, F/C for 2 measures, G 2 measures, and then the last 2 measures we split up, 1 measure of C and 1 measure of G 7th. And then that last G 7th will lead into the next chorus. So let's do a slow walkthrough with this progression for verse 2. Here we go from the top. 1, 2, ready, go. On verse 2, there are additional parts played by guitar 2, or the second guitarist. We're still going to start with that sustained C7th chord strum. Then we're going to add in an F/C strum. And then during the F/C section, there's a single note riff played. Dun, 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 dun. And that'll be on the 4th string, 3-2-0, same 4th string, 3-2-0. Then the 3rd finger goes down the 5th string 3rd fret, and then down to the 6th string 3rd fret. Dun, 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 dun. And that last note, the G note, is going to land or harmonize on the G chord that's strummed in that progression. Dun, 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 dun. And there's an additional riff played at the end of this progression. I call it a bass line riff, but it is played by a guitarist. Bum, bum, bum. And that's going to lead into the next section. In fact, that last note again, this time it's C. That C is going to land or harmonize right with the C chord that starts the next section. One further note on this, some people, this riff it really stands out. Some people may actually want to throw that in for an unaccompanied performance as opposed to layering 2 guitars. Here's what I mean. I'll play it from the beginning and show you how you can throw this riff in the middle of a progression while strumming. 1, 2, ready, go. So what I did, that last note in the riff is G. Instead of playing the last note, I strummed the G chord, which sort of implies that G note. So some might want to throw that in as well as another option, but what we'll do in the next clip, you can practice verse 2, number 1, syncing or timing the lyrics with verse 2, but also you can hear how all these overdub guitar parts sound as well with the rhythm chords. For the solo section, you're going to follow the same progression as the chorus. So we're going to focus on how to play the solo on guitar. In the original recording, it's played with the string section. The solo is in the key of C major, and on guitar we're going to play it along the 5th fret position. And we're going to start with our first finger sort of flattened on the 2 and 3 strings along the 5th fret. And what we're going to do is start with a 3-note riff. 5 on the 2nd string, 5 on the 3rd string after that. And then the pinky finger, or the 4th finger, 2nd string, 8th fret. And I would apply a 3 count to this. 1, 2, get a little sustain going on each of those notes. And then, keeping the fretting end steady in position, that would mean the first finger along that 5th fret, 2nd finger, 6th, 3rd, 7th, 4th, 8th fret. If you do that, it's a little bit easier to learn. The next section will be on the 2nd string, 6th fret, 6, 5, and then we go down to the 3rd string, 7, 5. And I would group that together as a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. From the beginning. And then back to that 7th fret on the 3rd string, and then the 2nd string 8th fret. And backing up a little bit to that 2nd string 6th fret. And if we go back to the very beginning, one little note, play it normal. I like a little slide on that first note. So here's how that'll sound. That's part 1. The second section, it's going to follow kind of the same theme, but we're going to play some different notes to start it. This time we're going to start on the 3rd string 7th fret and go down to the 4th string 5th fret. 7, 5, and then back to that 8th fret on the 2nd string. So still a 3 count to start that. Dun, dun, dun. Then a little variation here, still a 4-note phrase. That would be 6, 5 on the 2 string down to 7th fret 3rd string, and back to the 5th fret this time on the 2nd string. One more of that. And then the 2-note ending, 3rd string 5th fret, 2nd string 8th fret. Let's review line 2. As a further note, you could actually do a little slide to start that. Let's do that one more time, section or line 2 here. Now let's put it all together with the slow approach. Here we go from the top. 1, 2, ready, go. With that, in the next clip, you can practice playing the solo along with the backing rhythm. Again, that follows the same progression as the chorus. Verse 3 repeats the same lyrics as verse 1, but the progression will be the shorter progression in verse 2. And you also have the layered guitar parts from guitar 2 added in as well. So with all those variations, you can review and hear how they sound with verse 3 in the next clip. For the third chorus, we'll have the same progression in lyrics. The only difference will be the added parts by guitar 2. We've covered a few already, but here's the last one. It's a bass line. We have that lead in, bum, 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 that we already got, but then what we're going to do is kind of lock in with the chord changes. The first chord in the chorus, C or C/G, you're going to go back and forth between C and G notes like this. Bump, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. Again, C and G, locking in pretty much like that. It's not 100% like the original chord, it's sort of buried in the mix, but this is a good way to fall into it. So during the C section, dun, 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 da dun. Then when we shift to G, you'll stay on that G bass note and jump up to the open fourth string. Dun, 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 dun. Same thing for the G7 section. Dun, 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 dun. And then when we go back, resolve back to C, dun, 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 dun. And then boom, bum, bum, and then that'll lead into the next section. So we'll put that together one more time. We'll do it from the beginning. I'll even play the lead-in riff. Boom, bum, 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 bum. So you can hear how that syncs up with the next clip. Again, everything's the same with the chorus. We just have this added bass part, and you can hear how that sounds with the third chorus again in the next clip. Verse 4 is pretty much identical to verse 2. The only difference will be a slight variation on the lyrics. The lyrics in verse 2, the middle line, he says, and before you know it, it get to feeling good. In this verse, he says, and before you know it, it started feeling good. So it's one little change there. You can go over that while reviewing verse 4 in the next clip. For the fourth and final chorus is when the song starts to wrap up a little bit. There's a fade out on the original recording, and he also deletes some of the lyrics. So he's going to repeat the same lyrics from the second chorus, but there's going to be, like I said, they're going to be deleted. So it'll sound like this. Song, song, blue, and then nothing. Back to lyrics, song, song, blue, and then nothing. Then the real fade out begins, and he starts to repeat the lyrics and the progression from the funny thing verse. So what you have to do if you're playing an accompaniment, you have to figure out an ending. Suggestion 1 for the ending is don't play that fade out section. We'll end with the chorus section. And if I had to back it up to the G7, song, song, blue, just a nice sustained C chord. That would be cutting the song short from the original recording, I don't know, about maybe 15-20 seconds. If you really like the song, another option, go to that verse section that you start to hear on the fade out, repeat that whole section, the funny thing section, go back, play another chorus, a fifth chorus, and play that suggested ending as well for sort of an extended version if you want to play it a little longer. Once you have each section down, the final step is to put together a complete arrangement or performance of the song. And you can do that along with my Song Sung Blue karaoke practice video. And with that video, you can either sing along with Song Sung Blue karaoke, play guitar with Song Sung Blue karaoke, or do both.